where sisterhood's always our thing. We talk it out, we sip our wine. Our Gen X hearts still hold the line. The world may change, but not our ways. We've got each other through our days. Out on the Lanai, wine glasses with the healthy pour, sharing every joy and every pain. Outside, right next to the pool, full truth is our only rule. Never anything we have to explain. Seated on each sofa's end, sisters and the best of.
Hey, we are live. Good to see everybody. We are up in my office today rather than
hot.
Yeah, it sucks out there.
Too
right
hot
now.
to be
Really bad.
on the Lanai right now.
So, welcome. Episode 2. We've got like a lot of deep stuff to talk about tonight. Mostly like parental type issues, the difference between our parents' generation and our generation. Our website, which is coming along and is going to be the way that you're going to be able to play trivia with us. We've been testing out the trivia game.
Yes, we have.
I'm really happy with it.
Hey,
And
like it?
yeah, so it can be topic based. We're fighting our quiz master is ChatGPT, so it's very fair, and it keeps getting harder and harder and harder, which is pretty cool. So we'll show you that and our new chat room. I will give you a preview of curse word bingo, but I'm not going to show it because it had some words on there we would never use in a million years, but it's getting close. And that's it. Hi, Jamie. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Still on vacation. Decompressing from my vacation
Right.
in Arizona. It was really hot, but I really like that hot. Better than Florida.
Yeah. So yeah, Jamie just went on a anniversary vacay. So she was. You were there 4 days, right?
4 days in Scottsdale. We visited Phoenix. We drove up to the Grand Canyon. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And the Grand Canyon was, I can understand why it's one of the 7 natural wonders. You can't describe it. I showed my kids pictures and it almost looks like one-dimensional.
Yeah, there's no way to capture it with a camera.
No.
Because it is even when you're there, it looks like it's a painting. The
Yes.
distant rim of the canyon, which always kind of freaked me out because it's really kind of reality bending that it's so far away and yet so immense that it just
You feel about this big.
right. Yeah, it's pretty awesomely scary and weird. We got some comments. Let's see who's out there. Oh, it's Dennis. Who's actually downstairs. He can come up and say hello anytime he wants to. But yeah, hi Dennis. Good to have you with us. So it's nice to have family watching.
Yeah, especially from below us.
Yeah, from downstairs. Yeah, so again, really informal. No, Jamie's got her clipboard.
I do. I have my clipboard again because I know everybody likes the garbage now.
We need to collect more of those.
I know, we do.
So let's kick off this discussion. We have been dealing with a lot of kind of introspection about the differences between how our parents deal with things and how we deal with things lately, which is, usual, I would suppose, for most generations.
Yeah, you don't want to repeat the mistakes of your parents. You want to repeat the things that they did well. Yeah.
But I can be totally honest from my standpoint, I have no clue how the hell they think because quite honestly, they were the 60s peace, love, and joy generation. And now they seem to be kind of going to the 401k set extreme, which is really weird. So
I think we should definitely, tonight's episode should be about talking about the differences between the different generations.
yeah,
The boomers, the Gen Xers, the millennials, Gen Z, we can even throw in there. I don't know if I want to do alpha because they're a little too young to even really kind of pinpoint what
Yeah,
they're positive.
we don't know what they're about. And I only looked at the differences and did some, dives into research on the difference between the boomers and Gen X. Gen Z, honestly, I have a lot of respect for, because they are moving things much farther than even we are.
I agree, but I think we should talk about the positives, negatives of all four of those generations because I mean, you look at Gen Z. I mean, this is Jaden's age, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at boomers. I wrote in my notes 1946 to 1964. You have Gen X 1965 to 1980. You have millennials, which is 1981 to 1996.
Yep.
And then Gen Z, which is 1997 to 2012. Dempsey's at the very end, and she's 13. She was born in 2011.
Yeah.
And then you have the alphas after that. So I'm not going to touch the alphas because they're like babies, and we really aren't sure what they're going to do yet.
Right.
But we should talk about the four. I mean, we're Gen X.
Yeah.
On the extreme scale, though, because I'm at the very end and you're at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So there's even differences within our own
Oh,
generation.
Yeah. I was born at the very end of the 60s, which, I will. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm old. I'm sorry.
That old.
I am. I really am. But it's okay. I was born before the moon launch. So, yeah. But, so I've lived in at least a portion of 6 months of or more of the 60s. Grew up in the 70s. You pretty much grew up in the 80s.
I was born in 78. So I was like, had 2 years of the 70s, but don't remember them. And then largely grew up in the 80s. And then my high school years and my, coming of age time was in the 90s. So even though we're part of the same generation, we do have different perspective because you got to see a lot more of the 70s than I did.
And yeah.
Or I remember.
Unfortunately. Yeah. Right. So I remember, people being upset about Vietnam. I remember marching for ERA with my mom. I remember.
Which still hasn't passed, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it passed, quote unquote, but it was never ratified properly, I guess. And then, out of all of that turmoil, then it just became kind of about gas prices and, then
Politics.
Trickle down economics.
Yeah, trickle down economics.
Reaganomics.
Yeah,
What a shit show that was.
Yeah.
Right. And the Cold War, we were always, in my generation, being told that everything was coming to kill us, whether it was nuclear war, killer bees, some disease that was, right on the tip of our tongue. So a lot of things haven't changed.
No, actually, it feels like we're kind of exactly
everything old is new again.
Yeah. Exception, same thing.
Oh God.
I wrote down little snippets of the boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z about kind of, and I please don't get offended, anybody watching, because like I said, I'm going to be offensive to Generation X too.
It's all our opinions.
Our opinions. Boomers, for me, it's like, don't talk about it, beat it out of them type. I mean, and I know boomers, my father's probably watching, but that was the mentality then, right? Generation X is kind of like the lost generation, kind of raised ourselves, neglected in many ways. I mean, we were the generation that had the PSA that was like, do you remember where your children are at 10 o'clock? They would come on because our parents literally were not even looking for us. They were like, oh, wait, we need to put on a commercial so that your parents come and actually make sure you're home.
Yeah, they invented latchkey kids to describe us.
Latchkey, and I was latchkey kid. I had a key around my neck. And then I'm going to go on and insult more people like millennials. like kind of grew up to be like helicopter parents. Everyone gets a trophy just for participating. We didn't get trophies for participating.
If they have kids, that's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's bizarre because like we still had the desire to have kids, and that's kind of tapered off.
Millennials, as the millennials came, there was like more like, well, maybe we shouldn't contribute to this, and yeah, and I actually believe that a lot of the reason that the millennials are the way they are is because of the boomers. We were too close in age to the millennials. I mean, I was anyway. The 80 was the cutoff. And then Gen Z, right? Gen Z is like instant gratification, no patience. I want everything right now. They have no idea what it's like to like wait in line and have like a camera like roll developed of a disposable camera. Everything is like, oh, well, I have to have it right now.
Yeah, but kind of the dividing line in that, and it does have to be discussed. And I was a part of that. To my credit or shame, was the online and social media and
That kind of
instant messenger, text message kind of delineation, right? So, I worked for a company that's long gone, but still exists for some reason. American Almond Wine. And
I still have an AOL account.
I have a jacket. When we hit 10 million users, we got a leather team jacket.
Oh.
Because the CEO got drunk, and so that was we got a team jacket. Yeah, no, Netscape. I have a story about that, Dennis. You don't want to hear it.
Yay for Netscape.
Yeah, but literally that we thought we were helping people, communicate better, and what we did is we brought the invasiveness of it into life 24/7. Whereas now, we're constantly death scrolling to see, what we're missing out on because there is so much going on from so many sources.
Yes and no. I think yes, the internet invited so much in that we learn to appreciate the value of being able to get our news really fast and being able to connect with people faster. Everything is just faster, right? But it also almost socially distanced us from each other because then people, I mean, I see it with my students, less communication. Like, I mean,
Right.
in my day in high school, we didn't communicate by text. Now I can't get students off phones. We wrote notes to each other and tried to pass them without the teacher seeing. And now, they're taking videos of fights that would have never been broadcast, would have never been taken like in my day. So, I mean, and I understand that, but also the internet has been wonderful in so many ways, but there's negative pros and cons to it.
Yeah, sure. And I have to wonder how much of us is shaped by our online persona, our online presence, our online who we are versus, us who grew up without any of that.
But I think that's also what makes our generation very unique is that we grew up with both. We had no internet, so we had prior to that and like rotary phones and things like that. But then we also had like dial-up modems. I mean, I was in high school when you logged on. You have mail. That was like in 1995 for me. That was, I was already a teenager. So like I had lived in the 80s without any of that stuff where nobody knew where the hell I was and climbing trees and not coming home until dark. But then we also had the internet. So we're not only super savvy with computers because we've adapted it. I mean, we've been part of that, but we also knew what it was like to live without it.
Right. Yeah, and we dealt with computers when they were text based. They weren't as graphical.
Trail.
Oh yeah,
Where in the world?
Adventure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really is a there was a cacophony of information. Having
I love that you use that word. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
having access to the entire breadth of human knowledge, for better or for worse, for truth or for lie, for all of the things that comes with it. Even IMDb, which should be fact checking everything it does, is full of errors. Right?
Everybody can just kind of add what they want. It's like Wikipedia.
Lisa says big word, cacophony.
So the only other notes I have I wanted to give some positives, like positive characteristics, and then the negative characteristics of these generations, because I think it's important. And so for boomers, the positives I came up with were their optimism. They were super optimist, mainly because you ended World War II. People were happy, they wanted to start their lives. They have a very competitive nature that's like kind of built into the time, and they were financially focused.
Yep.
Right. And that's really good things about them. Their downside is that they tend to be very stubborn, right? They kind of like, back when I was your age, they're like dismissing like the younger generations, like we
Mhm.
don't have anything to contribute, or we don't understand what we're
Our
talking about.
experience is invaluable.
Exactly.
Yes.
They downplay mental health. That's a big thing. And also that they tend to be, not all, but they tend to be a bit racist and sexist and homophobic. That's my kind of take, my opinion, of course, only on boomers.
Right.
Then I have Generation X. Generation X kind of positive attributes. They're independent. They're easily adaptable. They're resourceful. I mean, again, Vicky said we were latchkey kids. I mean, making our own dinners.
Latchkey
Yeah.
kids and pre-made meals, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we knew how to make Kraft macaroni and cheese from an early
I
age,
still do.
and we still
Okay, yeah, I still can.
even though our kids can't stand it, we still make it.
And then the downside to Generation X is that we tend to be cynical,
Yes.
depressive, pessimistic. Mm. We're resistant to change. We don't like
Oh
change.
yeah, no shit, right?
And we generally are disaffected.
Yeah, but yes and no. Yes and no. Right now we are very affected, and we're very
You and I are. But as a whole, generally speaking, Generation X is still kind of like slacker mode. Like, F it.
although we were at the No Kings
Yes, we were.
and the
13.4 million.
the spectrum of
Oh yes. A lot of older
participants in it.
people,
Yeah.
younger people, white, black, brown, everything in between. It was amazing. And it was so nice to see it in our home, like in our town.
I mean, use the magic word. It was intersectional.
Yes, it was.
It really was. It was amazing to see so many people just standing up to say, no, this is not right. This is not our country. This is not the way we want to live. And that kind of ran across the generational gap,
Yes.
which is a unique thing that we could all come together on that. And yeah, you're right. I saw so many white-haired people.
Yeah. In their mobility scooters.
Yes.
With signs
Right.
attached to them, like on the front. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience for sure.
Yeah. No.
All right. Go ahead.
So I will say about the boomers, they got a lot of credit from the previous generation who fought World War II, who lived through the depression, not the recession, the depression.
Yeah. That was my great grandparents.
Yeah, so they dealt with the Dust Bowl, the depression, the 2 world wars, because they caught the tail end of the first one and had to really fight freedom for the second one.
Yeah, because it wasn't that far apart.
It wasn't a
World
big
War I,
gap.
World War II.
Right? So there's a reason they're called the greatest generation. And kind of the boomers got a lot of the credit and a lot of the how do I put this?
And there's just so many of them.
Right.
That's why it's called the baby boomer generation. There's just so many. I mean, they had like, my God, my grandparents had like 4 or 5 kids was common. Nowadays, what, like 1, maybe 2?
Right.
I mean, we had Dennis and I have 3, but even that's a lot. And for me, it's a lot of the comparing that the boomers do, because they like have houses, and I'm like, well, yeah, but you bought your house.
They bought their house for like
$14,000.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Most people now, like, I mean, Jaden, I keep using Jaden because Jaden's like, Jaden's what?
Right at the-
2006.
right at
He's
the-
right in the middle.
right at the edge of adulthood.
Yeah, but he can't even afford to like move out. because the rent is so astronomically high. It's more than their mortgage. And that's not what they experience as baby boomers, because things were given with GI bills and things like that. Things were given to certain people because
Right.
Blacks were excluded from that largely. But most white families went on to buy their first home and then have that picket fence in the suburbs, which was then newly created, and all of that stuff. And they are the legacy of that.
Even when I went through college, tuition was 800 to like 1,000, 1,500 a year
Yeah,
for
now
tuition.
it's-
And that was at a state school. It was a good education. It was accredited. That doesn't happen.
I am still paying my student loan. I am 46 years old
Yep.
and I'm still paying. I still have like $1,000 left. My students ask me, why don't you just pay it? It's the principle of it. But I've been paying for 20 something years.
Yeah.
For an education.
I like you. I tried to get an MBA, had to drop out, couldn't.
It's ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, and so I have student loans that I'm still paying off. 8,000 years old, I'm still paying off student loans.
8,000 years old. All right, let me keep going. Ready?
Yep.
Millennials. Purpose-driven work. They're confident. They're comfortable with technology.
Yes.
That's their positives, their attributes. Their downsides is that they don't listen to facts.
Oh yeah, facts are inconvenient.
They tend to be a little bit close-minded. They're risk adverse. They don't want to take chances because they got the participation trophies. So like they're like, oh well, if I just join, maybe I'll get something. And they tend to be less social. Just my take. And then you have Generation Z.
Mm.
All right. They're socially conscious, as you said. They're aware of the world around them. They have digital fluency.
Yes.
Very good. I mean, Jaden, all of my kids have had an iPad since they were like not infants, but like 1 or 2. You look anywhere in a restaurant now, a kid has an iPad and they can basically do it better than their parent because
Yes.
that's part of their life. Overall, though, their downsides that they are difficult to manage.
Mhm.
They cannot take criticism. I'm not going
Oh.
to point to the child that I know which one that is.
Oh.
They have a short attention span. I know this because I teach 11th graders, and believe me, they have a very short attention span.
What were you talking about?
And I think general just kind of laziness. They're kind of like it's like apathy. Like they don't like they care, but like I don't know if it affects.
Apathy is a good word, but I don't know if they generally have apathy or they just have lost hope, right? They just honestly, I think they are the real generation that doesn't necessarily know that their life could be better than their parents or their grandparents or
I don't think we knew that either.
well, we had hope.
Well, we're also older now. But
but we had hope we could at least match. I mean, when
I don't think we had hope.
Oh, no.
We were latchkey kids making ourselves macaroni and cheese,
we
hanging out outside, drinking from the hose, hoping our parents cared where we were.
But our criteria for success was different. Like when I got a 6-figure salary, my father thought I had totally and completely made it in this world because back in the day, it was you stayed with a company, you got to the 6-figure salary, you were an executive. It was all downhill and butter from then. And that's just not the truth.
No.
That was also in the day when homes cost, like you said, $7,000 to $12,000 on average.
Probably for like 700.
Hey, Barbara, good to see you. Welcome. Welcome back.
Hi.
Nice to see you again. Yeah, so it really was an expectation change, right? It was this idea that we could still at least create something, start a business, catch up, find some way to make it through. We still had that optimism. And I really don't necessarily know if the millennials and the Gen Z generation, I think
they do.
I
I think
think
they want to distance themselves, almost kind of like Generation X to them is like boomers. I mean,
They
in
think we're lame.
yeah, they do. I'm not lame,
No,
but
not us.
they in general,
But they do think we're lame.
they also think we're really old. We're not.
Yes.
I have something for you.
Okay.
All right. So this is like the 2025 version of a fanny pack, right? Because our fanny packs are really lame, but this is a legit fanny pack, right?
Right.
But I got something for you.
What?
Candy cigarettes.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
I can't smoke real cigarettes anymore. I used to back in the day.
Oh, I never did.
Oh, I did. Like
Because
2 to 3
because because I got this smoking PSAs, so I was always afraid. I was only afraid that the first time I took a drag off a cigarette that my lungs were going to explode.
I didn't really care.
Now these, I have boxes of these, which we will be handing
Oh,
out to
yes.
students.
If anybody wants candy cigarettes, like, oh my God. This is the Stallion. And there's all different brands.
Barbara, to answer your question, Laura's doing her own thing with the podcast. She's now doing a video podcast that's all about families of transgender kids. We're just doing this as something fun. This doesn't replace living out loud. It's just
Us.
it's just us having a good time. So welcome, and hope it's still okay, because it's a lot less scripted and a lot less.
Yeah, there's no script.
No.
I've been having some difficulties in not having a script and also not having a script. Like,
Yes.
I'm so used to reading off of my phone and knowing exactly what I was going to say beforehand. So this is a little different, and I kind of like it because
I was the
Writer.
least controlling of our group yet. I was the producer, so I was producing a lot of the show. And oh yeah, you remember candy cigarettes? Yes. Go open them up. They're fun.
Right.
They
I
taste
haven't had a
like
cigarette in a really long
it
time.
tastes like chalk. I used to get these at on summer vacations at a little
All right.
gas station.
They do taste like chocolate.
They do, but they're really fun.
All right. All right.
Last week it was garbage pail kids. This week's candy cigarettes.
All right. It actually looks more like a joint than anything else. Please don't get me arrested. So this is a broken one. Let's find one that's intact. Right. That's the only one that's intact. It's like chalk.
It's like chalk,
A mix between chalk and Pepto Bismol.
right? It's like a modern day Tums.
Mark them as Tums. More people would buy them. You know it's bad when my kids wouldn't even take them.
What?
Nope. They're like, we don't like those, Mom.
And I love how they're
Like,
based on
Dinner
like this is Marlboro
Mhm.
adjacent, right?
Can you see it?
It's Stallion candy. Yeah, just gonna drop one over there.
It looks like a drink mixer. It's really skinny.
Oh,
Or it's a genius.
That's a good idea.
Oh, don't do that. It's like a Virginia Slim.
Doesn't taste better with wine, and most things taste better with wine.
We were talking the other day in the pool about how, like, speaking of smoking, like smoking was such a thing of the past. Like if you look at any photograph, right, from the 80s or even the early 90s, everyone had a cigarette. There was an ashtray in every picture.
Yeah.
My mother, I love you, Mom, if you're watching, but smoked with the windows up when we were in the back seat.
Now it's interesting to me that the PG-13 rating was triggered because somebody used the word "fuck" in the movie. But nowadays you can get like almost a rated R rating if you have anybody smoking.
Mhm.
And like
Times have changed. If you can't, like, I have a hard time, like, I'm a teacher. Most of you know I'm a teacher. And I try to find a movie that I can show to the students. And there's so few movies, old movies that are classics that I can actually show that don't have anybody smoking because
Right.
everyone was smoking, literally. I mean, you can't even watch Christmas Vacation without them smoking it while they're making the gingerbread house. Like, you
The
can just,
blasting. The blasting.
it's just, oh, and you had a cigar. Yeah. Uncle Lewis.
Yeah. But it's weird now that that's what it takes to get you over the edge.
But meanwhile, Generation Z has over glorified violence in video games and all that stuff, and that's okay. You
And
can
vaping.
kill people. Yeah, but they don't show vaping on anything.
Right? Even though it's
It's
prevalent.
not glamorous.
It's prevalent, but it's not
glamorous.
it's
like
not
a cigarette.
James Dean.
No, because
It's-
James Dean was smoking a cigarette. It's like looks so.
It's,
It was.
it's not Humphrey Bogart.
No.
It's not the femme fatales of the 30s, 40s, and 50s. It is now considered dirty.
I agree with you.
Very strange, really.
It
And
is.
and we grew up with that. I mean, I know my lungs have enormous damage from my parents who were
Oh, for sure.
chain smokers through most of my life. And
Well,
and
my
it's-
parents were chain smokers, and then I became a chain smoker, but then stopped smoking because I was on the cusp of millennialhood and didn't want to smoke with my kids. But
yeah,
I mean, yeah, that's a real. It's just very different. But if you go to Europe, it still looks very much. It actually, it's almost like it's captured in a time capsule because they all still smoke. Not all of them, but a large majority of Europeans still smoke cigarettes, like actual cigarettes. Here, if I'm in a Wawa and someone asks for a pack of Marlboros, I'm like, wow, dude, you old. Because ain't nobody smoke around here no more.
yeah,
Get yourself a vape, dude.
yeah. I still see a lot of people, doing tobacco chew.
Oh, I haven't
Which-
seen that in a long time.
Which, oh my God, they usually have like 3 teeth left. But
And you wonder why.
I live in a place that is
Oh, it's Florida.
decidedly Florida rural.
Yeah. Florida's rough.
Florida's rough. So yeah, we see that, but yeah, the smoking not so much, and it's been very interesting to me back in the day. People would smoke all over the park at Disney when I worked at Disney in operations, and we'd sweep it up and
Yeah.
and deal with it. And now it went from specified areas to no, just
No,
don't
just no.
bring this on our
Nope.
property at all. Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but
I agree with you. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I very seldom see cigarette butts anymore anywhere. And it was a huge litter problem for sure, like everywhere, because people just fling them out their window, start a wildfire. Like if you're in Arizona, we just came back from Arizona. I mean, like you fling a lit cigarette that you haven't extinguished out the window, there goes half the desert.
Smoky Bear, only you can prevent
Yes.
fires.
Yeah.
But fires. But if you're smoking and you happen to throw your butt out the window, God bless you, right? It's a very different story. But yeah, we had so the PSAs in my generation, it was smoking was bad for you.
Mhm.
By the time we got into my youth, it was this is your brain on drugs. The whole,
Oh yeah, that was
the whole
my
egg culture thing, which
yeah. Where did you learn how to do this?
fuck
I
you,
learned it.
fuck you, Nancy Reagan, right?
Yeah.
Oh God, Nancy Reagan, you and
And now there's a whole marijuana culture.
right.
Like now you have dispensaries and weed and like that's like a whole thing. And I see it with my students with that because they're all carting with the damn cartridges. So yeah.
And I worked in a record store right at the time when Tripper Gore was absolutely obsessed with lyrics, thinking that was
Oh,
going to be
God.
the downfall of our children.
Yeah, the explicit language label.
The language that the parents used. Oh my God! Don't let the rappers use it. Oh, nice. Well, clutch the pearls, right? So everything had to be labeled for parental control.
Explicit. I know. I grew up with that. And those were the albums we wanted the most. If they had an explicit label on it.
I
we
actually didn't
wanted
care.
it.
I was at that point in time, I didn't care, but it was still just the idea of, really, this is the hill you're gonna die on. What NWA says is what Public Enemy says is that detrimental when they're exposing the truth of what's going on in the inner city.
That's their lived experience. So, like,
oh yeah, but we can't have that.
why? Because it offends white people. Stupid.
Right.
That's dumb. That's dumb.
It is. It is. And so let's really dive into that, because I would really like to get into the why we are not as racist as, right? And I think it has to do with many different things. I think there are many factors. First of all, I didn't know about segregation until I got into college history. I didn't know that was a thing. And
Because it wasn't taught.
it wasn't taught, but it also, I had in elementary school, in public schools, a rainbow of different representation.
Oh, I didn't.
I did. And I was
No.
I was in a very white subset part of Southern California, but we still had many people of color that actually were more friendly to me, being the outcast, kind of not fitting in kid, than a lot of the white kids were back in the day, being honest. And then I went to a public college, a state university, where I had a football scholarship. And my best friend was Black and was amazing in teaching me about privilege and the fact that I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground when it came to the Black experience. So I wouldn't just go, "Oh, I have a Black friend," and that was okay. That
Yeah.
no, there are things you learn that you can understand, and things you learn that you can't, and that's the definition of privilege, right? That's where the intersection is. You can try to understand, but it doesn't mean that you have a true understanding of somebody's lived experience.
True. I mean, I went to predominantly white school. There was really not a lot of people of color where I went to school on Long Island in New York, which, from judging from videos that I see now of people who I went to high school with their children, like at prom pictures, there's still not a lot of people of color on Long Island. But I chose to go to Philadelphia, which was like culture shock for me. Really, it was. I went from being in a predominantly a PWI, predominantly white institution, to a college where I was the only white girl in the entire dorm. And I had to learn, and it was growing pains. And I had really wonderful people that helped me.
Yeah.
But also were like, okay, like, you don't change who you are. And I never did. But
going all the way back to the beginning in the 60s, like, so I was at the beginning of Sesame Street. Sesame Street was always integrated. Sesame Street was always showing that it was one community. Saturday morning cartoons. We had the Harlem Globetrotters, the Jackson Five. It was Fat Albert, which now is totally completely wrong.
it was, yes, but it was.
But based on the person who created it, not the fact that it was showing and those stereotypes. Holy shit! But
Those stereotypes about everybody, and yeah.
But it was breaking down those walls. So I didn't even what am I?
Just time. Just time.
I need my wine.
Yeah, something like that.
Even the PSAs were really geared towards understanding that we are a melting pot, that we are all integrated, that it was, something.
But now look at us. Not us, but now look at what someone is trying to do to our country and make it all look the same, check every box. Let's get
Barbara, I
rid
totally
of.
agree with that. I'm going to bring that up. Nobody is born racist.
That's
It's
true.
taught. And our parents were, I have to say, at least mine were, extremely racist. My dad, who was an immigrant from Hungary, who came in on after the Hungarian uprising on a technicality, was brought into the country in a way that he wouldn't support now, right? He's gone, but he hated the Vietnamese immigrants. He hated.
Because those are yellow or brown people.
Right.
That's the thing. Like, it's just really disturbing that the generations before us don't see the value that immigrants brought, because immigrants built this country. The reason we're here is because we displaced Native Americans and came as immigrants.
Yeah. Great. And that's the lesson that you learn when
so
you
maybe
actually
we do immigrants next episode, because it's
840. So here's what I need you to do. Please go to outonthelanai.show.com, sign up, join the account. Also, we have Out on the Lanai Show on YouTube, and we have Out on the Lanai Show on Facebook. Please join all of those. I'm going to ask you politely. We really need a grassroots campaign so we can move all of our stuff over, and so you can find us readily. We're going to keep doing these because it's just us talking. Yeah, it's just us talking. There's no script. There's no safety net. We are on the high wire without a safety net, and I really like that. I appreciate that more than having to trying to push us in a particular direction, do all the research, all this stuff that came with it. But I think we should play a trivia game.
Okay.
I'm going to present. I'm going to share screen if I can. Ooh. So there we are. I'm going to go to the trivia game. I'm going to go to my phone to set it up.
Needs to pay.
Jamie needs to pee. So while she's doing that, I'm going to set up the game. I know. Oh God.
Is this?
This is live.
I am. I have
There's a
to.
doctor right there.
I know, but I can't get up out of my seat.
Right. So we'll do the trivia show next week. Yeah, and I'm going to say to everybody,
Good night. Farewell.
Good night, farewell. We love you. And please sign up so you can play trivia with us. It will score and keep track. And there's a
I'm gonna
leaderboard.
have higher score than you.
Oh, she will. She will. It's topic based. I had one for Gen X versus Gen the baby boomers. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Love you all.
Swoosh.
Bye.